going to go ahead and start recording right now, and I'm going to also hand this off to Tony.
Okay, Reese, thanks for the introduction. Appreciate that, and I want to thank everybody on the call for taking time to participate. I know I'm busy, and I know everyone else is too. I'll try to run through this in a way that gets the information across, and hopefully you can follow along, and feel free to ask your questions at the end. And if we don't get all the questions answered, you can contact me directly, and we can spend as much time as you like.
And
Reese,
Tony,
right now I don't. Yes.
Tony, I was just going to say, I think you got to run the PowerPoint from your side right now, so just go ahead and start yours, and you'll be good to go. When you share your calendar, just share your PowerPoint.
My screen. Does this look better?
Yep, F5 that, and you're good to go.
Okay. All right, and I did want to thank Talley. They're a really highly valued distributor partner for us, and we appreciate them for setting up this webinar. They're great folks to work with. Okay. I'm going to tell you just a few things about us pretty quickly, who we are and what we do, and about our products at large, and then we're going to spend the bulk of the time talking specifically about the products that apply to the commercial wireless industry. So we're an engineering company first. We design our products. We do the hardware, software, mechanical design. We do the system level work. We do the customer service. We do the assembly, all those sorts of things. So we don't really farm much of that out. So the point of that is going to be that not only do we do these alignment tools that you're aware of that we sell in sort of a bulk manner, but we also do a lot of custom alignment products. We've been around doing this business longer than anybody that I'm aware of. We were first in the U.S. to build a GPS alignment system back in '06, and and we just recently received a patent on our point-to-point microwave system using a GPS alignment method. We'll talk some more about that. Something that you may not be aware of is we also build alignment monitoring sensors that stay permanently on the RF panel antennas to let the carriers monitor changes that might happen from weather or other environmental incidents, to let them know that antennas have moved so that they know that they need to go out and service one. And great examples for that would be Houston, Florida, where I am, Puerto Rico, those sorts of places. Let you be more tactical about where you send your repair crews if you know you've got an idea what's happened there. So that's sort of Sunsight at large. And now let's talk about the things that we actually do inside those industries. And it's not a long list of things, but we do them in lots of different variations, different variants, different applications. So we'll talk about that. What we're really good at is measuring the azimuth, tilt, and the roll height of devices. And that applies directly to RF panel antennas. Those are the four items that are required for alignment. In addition to that, we capture very precise lat and long down to a granularity of a foot. We'll capture the time of day. We capture photos along with, when we capture this sort of data, there's photos, there's places to put notes, those sorts of things. In the cellular world, we do the RF panel antennas, and that's what we're most noted for. We also do the point-to-point microwave, and those are the two products we'll concentrate on in a few minutes. Outside of the commercial wireless industry, we sell products into the wind energy business, specifically wind turbines. They use our device to help align the turbine heads as they point into the wind. And it was a surprise to me, but wind turbines do not point directly into the wind. They point at specific angles to be the most efficient and to control the rotor speed. It's one of the methods they use to control rotor speeds. So we're in that. Those are permanently mounted, very tough, environmentally sealed units, have their own heaters. Again, a variant of what we do, but a completely different application. We sell products into oil and gas industry for aligning drill holes in the ground. As these drill holes are bored, they do not go straight down. They curve and twist as they hit hard spots in the ground. And we help with a sensor package that's used to map those holes so that they can properly drill to the right depths and the right angles to achieve the desired results. On emergency services, The biggest application there would be microwave alignment, like for emergency, if you have emergency services, hospitals, ambulances, fire departments, et cetera, that are connected by microwave. You have an earthquake, they're out of alignment. Our system is standalone, can be used immediately while you're still working on radios, help you get the microwave links back up and running as soon as possible. For 911, we created an improved handset location algorithm and method that's used for identifying handsets that are not GPS enabled in the field. And for military, we do some work with the equipment positioning and helping with aligning telecoms and other defense-related devices. Okay, now onto the tools that you care about. We're going to talk about the RF panel alignment system and the microwave path alignment system. Specifically for the panel alignment, we build a product called the antenna line alignment tool. It comes in 3 sizes. The sizes directly relate to how accurate the tools are. These devices are battery operated devices that are handheld. They strap temporarily onto the antennas and they measure the azimuth, tilt, roll, and height. We've been doing this for quite a long time. We're approved by AT&T. We're in their national method of procedure. We're one of the first ones in there. We're mandated by use on Verizon sites. If you're doing work for Verizon, many of the regions require the Sunsight products, and we're mandated for the Sprint mobility projects for their panel alignment systems as well. For the microwave path alignment system, again, we're in the AT&T MOP there, and we're mandated for Sprint, so we get a lot of nice acceptance there. I'll skip over the sensor for this particular crowd. Let's talk about the panel aligner. And this is the antenna line alignment tool, the AAT30, typically what we talk about. And as you can see in the picture, the unit straps directly onto the panel antenna. And at that point, you see in real time the values for azimuth, tilt, roll, and height on the display, which is a phone that you hold in your hand. And you can capture those results for reporting later. It's very easy to use. You can just put it on there and use one button to capture the results if you like. There are lots of advanced features you can use if you want to, but those are strictly optional. It's the most accurate tool in the industry. We pride ourselves on accuracy above everything else. The unit's made of extruded aluminum. It has polycarbonate antennas, a lot of machine metal parts. It's very tough, really no exposed thin plastic parts of any kind. As far as value, we try to give you the best cost of ownership. We have the longest warranty in the industry, 3-year warranty. You do not ever have to return the AAT for periodic calibration or rework. You can calibrate it yourself in the field in about 2 or 3 minutes. And let's talk a little bit about the screen. This is a differentiator between the Sunsight products and similar products. We removed the screen from the tool because that was by far the thing that got damaged the most in the first generation of the tools, and it's still used in other products in the industry. But we took that off, and I'll go into why in just a few minutes. But the bottom line is it just ends up with a better service life for the folks in the field. There are lots of shapes and sizes of antennas in the field, a lot of oddball ones. They come out all the time. We're very set up to handle those things. We try to make our mounts very universal, but if you do get into a special situation, please contact us. We do custom mounts or small run mounts. They're very price effective, and that's just part of the business. If you do this sort of work, you know the different shapes of antennas and the problems it can cause. Something that's unique about the AAT is you can pre-program it before you climb. This just cuts the tower guys, the tower tech's time on the tower. He can input what he's going to do for the next day or the next week or the next month of the 255 target profiles, we call them. And so that when he's on the tower, he's able to just click and bring up the specific antenna site, the antenna sector, and the site, sector, and antenna, and he'll be presented with the exact targets for that exact antenna right next to the ones that he's actually measuring at that time. So he matches the targets to the actuals, saves the results, tightens the antenna down, and he's made a good alignment, and he's documented his results. And he can get off the tower faster. And he can move directly. If he needs to move the next antenna, again, it's just the site, the sector antenna. He's immediately presented with the targets. No calling up on the radio to get targets. No fumbling around looking at other documents or notes or phones or whatever to get the target data. It's already presented to him. We have a unique ability to capture azimuth from the ground. We're using a scope system. If you need to do third-party audits, or you need to come by just to check some work, or if you're unsure about something, you can use the AAT and something we call our azimuth ground scope kit, and you're able to set up the AAT on the ground and measure the azimuth of the antenna, either from directly in front of it or off to the side. It's just great for auditing, and the AT&T auditors use that exclusively for years, just to check, just to do a final third-party check of contractor work. All our products have extensive instructions, extensive online free video training, customer service always available. If you're struggling, we really prefer you call in to get you going. It's nearly always a training issue we find. If we can get you started thinking the way Sunsight does, you're going to have a great result. So a little bit more about the AAT-30. We have the ability to take full site alignment reports. That means in one report you can capture as many as 12 antennas in one report. Rather than having an antenna by antenna report, you can get an entire site's worth. Optionally, you can put photos in that report. All the alignment data is embedded directly in the picture, so you don't have to worry about matching reports to pictures later or that sort of things. The reports are captured in PDF form. They're captured in Excel spreadsheets. You can import sites if you have an output from a carrier that gives you the data in a Excel or CSV format. You can import that directly into the AAT and minimize anybody's typing and send it back to them in that same exact format. Let's talk a little bit about, I mentioned that we didn't put the screen on the unit anymore. That's because the AAT is operated with either a laptop or an Android handset or an Apple device. It doesn't really matter. The AAT uses just garden variety 802.11 wireless and a browser to communicate. So you just bring up your device, you navigate to our website inside the tool, and you're in business, and you'll see a display that looks similar to the one on the left. That's a very simple display for one of our modes on the left. So again, there's no software loaded on your laptop or your phones. So if you won't get in the field and decide you need an app or a piece of code, you simply use your browser and your Wi-Fi. Back to why there's no screen on the unit, the advantages of that. If you have a screen built into the unit, it does get broken. And it seems like more often than not, it's in a position where it's hard to view, particularly if you're trying to do a microwave unit where the alignment device might be on top of a 10-foot diameter microwave antenna, and you're down trying to run the lead screws to sweep the antenna left or right or up or down. It's not handy to climb up and see the display, so having a remote display is a big advantage in that case. Also lets us deal in a wide temperature range. We have great success in Alaska and a lot of the cold weather climates and the hot weather climates. We use all industrial rated components, and we do heat and test all our devices as part of the development process. In Alaska, if you're using a standard LCD or TFT kind of display, you'll have a very limited luck with those displays. As they get colder, they tend to get slower, and eventually they just won't render at all. So by having the unit in your hand where it can be inside your jumper or in a pocket and not exposed until the last minute, you get a lot more life out of, not more usable time when you're trying to do your work. So we've had, again, good success in those environments. Another advantage of having the phone in your hand is you don't have to post-process the report. You don't have to, let's say you've gone out and captured, you're on a site and you're capturing a report. You can just fire it directly from your phone while you're still at the top of the tower. If somebody needs to review it and approve it or approve an exception, you can send them those results immediately and get, fairly immediate feedback on what to do in these cases that don't fall into the norm. Otherwise, you would have to download the reports from the tool that evening onto a laptop and email them from there, and that's, of course, too late to make any on-the-spot corrections. So we think that's a really big advantage to having a handheld device that has internet connectivity in the field. These are the sort of reports that the AAT does. This is the most simple report. This is where somebody just turned the unit on, hit the capture button, and typed in the name, the site sector and antenna for the report. You can see the actual values on the right. The targets are all 0 because they didn't pre-program it ahead of time to put the targets in. So this is just a demonstration of the very simple one-button capture and sort of the results you would get from that. Your company name would appear up here where ours is for Sunsight. The job name can be here, site sector antenna, etc. And you can see the sort of data that's collected. This is an example of a photo that went along with this report. And you can take multiple photos, so you can take a picture of what the antenna sees. So if you want to picture, say, make sure that you can document that there was maybe a new building built or trees have grown or something like that based on the antenna view. You can take a picture as the antenna sees it. You can also take a picture, obviously, of the AAT or of a connector or of any other reference data you might want to have at the top of the tower, and it'll be documented in the same report. All appears in the same, it's rendered in the same PDF report. Okay, this overwhelming report is for a full site. This is a 3 antenna site. So we showed you the simple one button method and what you would get. This is sort of the full-blown, the other end of the scale report you can get. This is for 3 different antennas. So if this was a site that had 3 antennas, the alpha, the beta, the gamma antenna are all captured here. The company again, the name of the job, the serial number of the antenna, the date the AAT was last calibrated. And let's talk just a little bit about azimuth, tilt, and roll, and AGL here, though, again, the 4 big things that you care about. So they programmed in that they wanted it to be at 0 degrees. With the AAT, you can make multiple captures of data on any antenna. So what you do is when you first put the AAT onto the antenna, if you capture the results and then you make your adjustments and then you capture it once you're done, you'll have an as I found it value and as I left it value. So this would be the first and final. So when they arrived, it was sitting at 1 degrees. When they left, it was at 0 degrees. And so you can show that the work was actually performed. And we find that the carriers and the turf vendors really like that kind of information to prove that you really were there and it really did work. And that holds true for azimuth, tilt, roll, and AGL height. Among other things in the report are the time of the first capture, so you can prove what day you were there and what time, the time that you finished, and the final lat and long for each one. There are many, many optional fields, strictly optional fields that you can use to further document these alignment reports, including the serial number of the antenna, the make and model, the serial number, make and model of a TMA if you're dealing with the tower mounted amp, any other notes if you had to call into somebody to get an approval to say, okay, I can't really set this, I'm on the side of a building, I can't move this antenna in azimuth to the required heading that was the azimuth that was the target. If somebody might approve to say, okay, we're not going to remount the antenna, so just set it at 3 degrees rather than 0 degrees. They could type in there, I talked to Joe Smith on this day, and he approved that this to be at 3 degrees. So that stops the coordinating of these exceptions after the fact when somebody's trying to review the document months later. They can see in that who was involved and that it was approved. It wasn't just left incorrect. And any other notes that you want to put on there. So again, this is a full-blown report. If you took pictures, you can take pictures with the site report as well. They fall between each of these separate antennas. So you could have pictures in here, then you would have pictures in here. Okay, so that sort of winds it up for the RF panel alignment only device, the one that we're most known for and the one we've been building since '07. So let's talk about the microwave alignment system. This is a relatively new product for us. It's been out less than about 18 or 20 months now. It's really just picked up steam in the last 12 months. We're quite proud of this, as you might imagine. We just received a recent patent on it. And what this does is it uses 2 of our AAT type devices. One's on each end of the link, mounted on the antenna. Those 2 AATs share data between each other via cellular network, and using the information from each end, they calculate so you put these 2 devices on, they communicate to each other, and they actually use an algorithm similar to a system, a piece of software called path loss, which is an industry standard for designing microwave links. And based on lat long and measured height, they calculate the required elevation and the required azimuth to have these two antennas physically point at each other. There's really no practical distance limitation for this, since you don't use the RF of the antenna. You don't need a radio connected to these microwave antennas. You don't even need power to the microwave antennas. The two AAT, the two MW15s in this case, are talking to each other, and you're making that adjustment just based on what those two devices determine. While you're aligning, you can see your target values, which are calculated, versus your actuals. You can select another tab to see the remote ends, the other team, where they are, what they're seeing, and how they're coming along. You can use these tablets to talk to each other if you need to. They're also phones as well. So you're able to do this alignment. One of the great things, again, as I mentioned, is during construction, a lot of times power comes later, or devices don't come, or you have a missing part or one bad part that's keeping you from running the full microwave system. You can still go ahead and do this very basic antenna alignment without the operational radio system. This is just a great labor-saving device. It's nothing more than that, but it's also pretty fabulous in that it saves a lot of labor. You can spend hours, days, weeks simply trying to find the other end of a link, particularly if it's a very long shot. And so in that way, it's a very, very helpful device, and it pays for itself very quickly. As I mentioned, it does calculate it on the fly, and you can also use this system with just one microwave unit. Rather than having a unit on each end, you can align each end individually. It's not quite as interesting or as fun to do it that way, but you can use the lat long from the far end of the link and input it on the end of the link where you're working into our system, and it'll still calculate the required elevation and azimuth, and you can set that antenna. So if you just had one team trying to do the initial alignment of a link, you could do one end of the link, be done with that. You could drive to the other end of the link and set the antenna and be ready to go. And when you come up and running, you're on the main lobe of the link, and you're able to communicate and do any fine tuning that might be required. One of the good things about the device, and the bad things, the mount is a little fiddly. It's got several pieces, and the reason why is, once again, antenna manufacturers make antennas in many shapes and sizes, lengths, widths. Some have shields on them, some don't. So there are variants in our. We have this universal mount that has a few little pieces to it, and it requires a little bit of instruction to get started. But it does by far cover the most antennas compared to any other alignment device that we're aware of. You can do all the way down to 1.5 meter up to 1.5 foot dish up to 14-foot dish. You can do parabolics that have open fronts, the ones that have the screens and the shields in front of the antenna, etc. So it is very universal, even if it is a little fit. Best thing of all, if you have a microwave 15 kit, it also turns into 2 RF panel kits. So if you're a contractor that's doing some microwave and some RF panel, you can buy this system, and it'll do both. And that's included. There's not even any additional options. You just get the pieces that are required to do the panel alignment well, so you get all in one.
Hey, so this is Reese. If you could go back one slide. So right there, we had a question from the audience. Tracy asked, so do you need to fine tune after that is done? And I'm not exactly sure where in the conversation that was that you were talking about it, but can you respond to that with that question, or do we need to unmute Tracy?
No, that's fine. I think I understand the question. It's a pretty common one. The AAT will get you very close to a final alignment, but based on physical things that might happen out there, whether you're over water or some reflective surfaces, you might, and we would suggest that you would still do some final alignment based on radio signal when it's all available. So what we're really good for is getting you onto the main lobe, and you would still typically, on the long shots especially, you'd want to fine tune based on signal.
Okay, fair enough. And Tracy, you can, again, email us after the presentation is done if you need further answers. Okay? Thanks, Tony.
Okay. As Sunsight seems to be great at, we document the heck out of the link here. And this is both ends of the link documented. And if you're required by the FCC to routine supply information on the azimuth and the alignment of your antennas every couple of years for a licensed link, this is a really nice way to collect all that information. This information, by the way, is also, you can create an account in the cloud, and you can log in from anywhere and just download this PDF file directly from there. You don't need either of the tools in your hand. You can just grab it. So that's really good if you're working far away from home and you need a specific piece of data while your crews are still on the road. Finally, for the microwave setup, we also produce these Google Earth files. They're sort of impressive to show. That's a link from here in Orlando, close to where we are, showing the two ends of the link overlaid on top of Google Earth. That's just a standard output that we create as part of our report producing process. So we'll sort of start heading towards a summary here. Just want to talk a little bit about versatility. Again, we have mounts. If you've got a special situation, we'll build you a mount and we'll help you for that. We do custom software, but we mainly do a lot of mounts. As you can see, these are just some of the examples here. On the left is the azimuth scope kit that I talked about before. It allows you to measure the azimuth from the ground. And these are various relatively inexpensive mounts for the different types of antennas that come out. Sort of the problems you'll face is on an Ericsson Air antenna, for example, there's not a flat surface on it anywhere, so you have to figure out some way to get a true reference so that when you're trying to align to these parameters, you have the reference from the antenna that you're trying to measure. So that's what these usually wind up being, as a method for establishing that reference. I'll just sort of wind up why I think that, what our objectives are and why I think we've done well at that. First of all, we're the most accurate tool. There's really, for GPS alignment tools, there's no argument with that. And why that's important is if you start with the most accurate tool, that gives you some room for tolerance for your tower crew and for changes in the tower. Towers are living things. They change with weather, particularly temperature. As you can measure tilt in the morning and come back on that same afternoon. If it's been a sunny day, you'll get a different tilt value because of unequal heating of the metal in the tower. So the most accurate tool is very, very critical. Let's just say that an AAT, for 99% probability, it's better than plus or minus 1 degree, even in the smallest form factor. If you have, for instance, AT&T says you have to be within plus or minus 3 degrees on azimuth. If you start with a tool that has accuracy of plus or minus 0.75 RMS, which would be plus or minus 2.25 degrees and R99 or 99% probability, that leaves you very little sloppiness for the tower crew to be able to align the antenna and still fall within the plus or minus 3 degree range. If you start with a tool that's always good to plus or minus 1 degree, then they have 2 degrees of slop on either side. So if they were shooting for 0 degrees and they actually said, oh, well, I'll put 358 was as close as I could get. If you're using an AAT, you're going to fall within required tolerances to satisfy your customer. So we're the most accurate. We're the most versatile. We have more types of mounts, more variants of mounts. We're the most durable. 3-year warranty, made out of metal, lowest cost of ownership. Again, longest warranty, in-field calibration. You don't send it back in. You don't send it in for broken screens or that sort of thing. We have more capabilities than anyone else. We've been in the business longer than anyone else. And since we're an unbridled engineering house, we have the most features. And that's the problem with having engineering companies. You typically get more features, continue to enhance. So I don't think anyone can beat us there. Most important to an end customer, there's nobody that doesn't accept our results. So we've never had a problem with any carrier. We're mandated by a lot. So that makes us unique in the business. So I know that was sort of a fire hose discussion here about the products. I hope I touched on the things that you cared about. Love to hear your questions, and just want to talk briefly about our relationship with Talley, and then I'll turn it back over to Reeves. They are preferred, without question, Talley is a preferred distributor of Sunsight. We have a great relationship. They always have products in stock. They always work with us. If a customer has something they don't understand or something we need to resolve, they're very responsive, and they're great intermediaries for us. So we appreciate that. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Reeves, and thank you all for your time.
All right. Thank you very much, Tony. Right now, we're a little bit over, but we have an ability, if you can stay on, just go ahead and type some questions. I see that there's some that are coming up. If there's something that's unclear, we'll be glad to even take it offline if it requires more research. Again, thanks, Tony, for going through the slide deck. We also wanted to reciprocate the dialogue that Tony was indicating. They've been a very good partner of ours. One of the things that's key in the distribution world for us is that if the manufacturer, like Sunsight Industries, goes out there and gets that product approved in the carrier space and they mandate it, we fulfill the demand for those products. So Sunsight's done a really tremendous job in getting that as a mandated product to use to get the antennas aligned, as well as microwave links. There's also going to be one other thing. We've got a promotion that we wanted to highlight at the end of this presentation. But before I do that, I want to go ahead and read a question for you, Tony. Are you ready?
I am.
Okay, so this is from Asa, and I think I know you. Here's the deal. We have several of these tools. We love it, but one of our tools is very difficult to connect to it. Even with open sky, no tower for miles. Is there any way that you can help me fix this issue? So, Tony, I mean, we can get a hold of Asa and get that unless you already know him directly. Go ahead, Tony.
Okay, yeah, this is a great question. I'm glad it came up. I would tell Asa, anytime that your guys are in the field or your crews are in the field and it's taking them more than 5 minutes to get to the measuring screen to where they can operate, there's something going on. Usually it's a training issue, or their GPS on the tower has some peculiarities to it. But we really love for people to call in while they're on the tower. If they're having an issue, we can usually resolve it on the spot and get them going. If this particular problem sounds like there might be a problem with the unit, and if it's acting differently from other units, please let us know and send it in. Just call us for an RMA and we'll bring it in, run it through system test, and see if we can find out what's going on. But again, encourage people to call in when they're having the problem, and that's the number one thing I'll say about all this support.
We got another question here.
Sure.
The device the device needs cell service to work. You want to address that?
The AAT does not. The AAT runs off of Wi-Fi just between the AAT and the handset, so it doesn't need cell service for that. The microwave and single-ended mode does not require cell service. If you're going to use the microwave end-to-end kit, it does require cell service to transfer the GPS data back and forth. You can, if you have the GPS location of the other ends, you can enter it manually and override that as well. But for the really cool end-to-end calculate on the fly, yes, you need cell service.
So I'm gonna try and share the promotion with everybody here, Tony, before we get going. We got some people that are needing to get back to the field, I suspect. So let me go ahead and put that up. So before the end of the year, Sunsight is offering a free tablet till the end of the year with any purchase of a Sunsight AAT product. An AAT 30, excuse me. And so all you have to do, this flyer will be mailed out to all of you for attending the webinar today, and all of the information will be sent to you directly so you can actually take advantage of this. It makes the use of your tool very helpful. I'm sure, Tony, if you want to give a quick 2 to 5 seconds about the benefits of this.
Sure. If you get this free tablet, you get the photo feature for free. So all of the photo documentation will just come as a free rather than an add-on. Plus it's just a really nice display, and it's IP65 rated, so it's water and dust resistant.
Yeah, I wanted to let everybody know that thank you for attending. I also wanted to let everybody know that you will be receiving that flyer that was just up. I think I can show that to you again. But we'll be sending that to an email, and we will have the presentation as it was recorded on our website within 1 to 2 days. Okay? But thank you, everybody, for attending. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thanks, everybody. Appreciate your time.